How y'all doing, everybody? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 15 4 key game picks. Before we talk about week number 15, thoughts from week number 14. There's a lot that went on in week number 14, and it's really, really tough to get into everything that happened last week, but I'm just going to make a few quick comments about week number 14, and don't forget to read the text on the fly on the current updated playoff standings in both the AFC and the NFC. So anyways, talking about week number 14, if you're a Colts fan, I would be screaming, "Ugh!" Daniel Jones out for the season, torn Achilles heel, and obviously having to try to call back unretired Phillip Rivers of all people, just to try to salvage your season and whatnot. Because really, that loss to the Jaguars was brutal. Not only losing badly, but you lose Daniel Dimes, and it's tough to say. Where do the Colts go from here? And let me just say right now, the Colts are now in serious danger of missing the playoffs because their next four opponents, the Texans and the Jaguars again, but they got the 49ers and the Seahawks right in front of them. In the next 4 weeks, they may be finished. It's tough to say if I'm going to, especially now, who's going to be the quarterback for this team. The Colts are screwed. Let's be real. Let's be real about it. Anyways, talking about the Cowboys and the Lions game last Thursday night, let's just say the Cowboys are cooked. They had a golden opportunity to try to really go up to Detroit and make a statement, and they didn't do it. They losing to the Lions. The Lions are a desperate team. They're trying to fight for a playoff spot themselves. The Cowboys losing CeeDee Lamb, who knows how long, possibly for the rest of the season. But Pickens really just didn't have a good game at all. And obviously that offensive pass interference, the Cowboy fans are still whining about. It was just, look, you guys are done. You guys are done, especially to a fellow YouTuber, Scooter McGregor. I mean, if you guys check Clickbait Sports and all that, I don't want to promote them because they can promote themselves and all that. Those are huge people on YouTube that I follow a lot. Your Cowboys are done. You're coping and seething. It's over. Look at other teams. How about the Bills? Basically and Josh Allen had to go Superman just to beat a lowly, sorry Bengals team that really the Bills offense struggled in the first half of that game, and yet somehow they managed to wake up in the second half. And besides Josh Allen having to win the game all by himself, but Joe Burrow throwing 2 interceptions in 2 different drives that basically cost them the game. Bengals, you're also cooked. You're pretty much done. Your season's been done since week 4. When I look at other games, how about the Bucs losing to the Saints? I don't know what's going on with the Bucs, but you guys are also screwed. Especially with the Carolina team coming off a bye week and knowing football, you got to face them twice coming up. You better find a way to hope and win that division. Because I know the injuries have really hurt this team a lot, but it's really tough to say if this Bucs team can hold on while an somehow up-and-coming Panthers team is making noise themselves. Bears, you had a golden opportunity to beat the Packers, and you didn't do it. Caleb Williams, that last drive, you throw an interception. You had 2 timeouts, and you could have ran it in. Caleb, you're mobile. The Packers had a hard time stopping you all night, and yet somehow you throw an interception and you give them the game. I don't know what you guys are going to do in the second meeting, but Bears, you better try to do everything you can to get that first place NFC North back, because I guarantee you the Packers are going to win. The way their schedule's set up, they're probably going to win the division if you don't find a way to beat them in the second game. And you got to hope they lose to Denver on Sunday, which is going to be one of the key games I will get into. Chiefs, you're also done. I never thought I would say this about a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs team. Chiefs were flat. They really looked horrible. The Texans, even though they struggled offensively, they still ended up beating you. And don't even get me started on that Eagles and Chargers game. Personally, as a Chargers fan, I felt the Eagles should have lost. I mean, the Chargers should have lost that game. The Eagles should have beaten them, but somehow the Eagles beat themselves. Anyways, let's talk about Week 15. All right, let's begin with key game number 1. Going into the AFC East, it is the Bills versus the Patriots. For some reason, the Bills are a 1.5-point favorite in this one here. I don't know why. To me, the Bills shouldn't be favored. I really think the Patriots really should be more of the favorites in this game. Josh Allen, 22 of 28, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. While Drake May, back in Week 13, Patriots were on their bye last week. He went 24 of 31, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a total beatdown of the Giants. It's really put up or shut up time now for the Bills. Because you get a second crack at the Patriots, and probably if you win this game, you could see them again in the postseason. There's no question if they're going to win this game, Cook's got to be able to run the ball effectively through that Patriot defense. Shakir, Gabe Davis, and Kincaid, they got to come up big against that Patriot defense. Because that defense is not a joke as it was in the first meeting. They weren't that much of a joke, and yet the Patriots are balling. Now, for the Patriots, how do they win this game? How do they sweep the Bills here? Stevenson has got to be able to continue to run through that awful Bills defense because their defense has having a hard time stopping the run. But I feel like Stephon Diggs is probably going to want another bite at the Bills to try to embarrass them again. He's got to come up big in this game. And the Patriots just got to find a way to neutralize Cook and Allen. Plain and simple. It's a tough pick. It's actually a tough pick because the Bills, somehow they're getting their offense going here. And the Bills are probably going to be playing more as a desperate team because their playoff hopes are hanging by a thread right now. Especially the fact that the Patriots, believe it or not, have a playoff clinching scenario in this game. If they do beat the Bills, they will win the division. So, will the Patriots end up winning the division here? Probably. But are they going to clinch it in this game? No. The Bills are playing desperate, and they will find some way to beat the Patriots in their backyard. Even though the Pats defense did shut them down pretty good in the first meeting, but the Bills are hanging by a thread. You know they're going to be playing desperate football, and for some reason, I could see the Bills actually beating the Pats this time. And I think they'll beat them in a very, very tight ball game. Very close. It's going to be low scoring. I don't really expect much. I don't think it's going to be a high. I don't think this time will be a high scoring affair. I think it's going to be low scoring, probably like a 20-17 type of game. I could see this thing happening here. I'm going to go with the Bills at -1.5. I think the Bills, they're playing it desperate. They're going to be playing desperate, and I think they're going to find a way to win. The Patriots, I feel like they should get a loss now while the getting's good, because of the fact that they really should be more focusing on clinching the division and getting into the playoffs and hopefully make some noise. And also, they're trying to fight for that number 1 seed as well. But I think the Bills, for this week, they'll prevent the Patriots from winning the division. They still can clinch a playoff berth if the Texans lose their game. I'm picking the Bills. They'll barely beat the Pats in this one here. It's gonna be a close game in this one here. Bills over the Pats. Key game number 2, a big one at SoFi. Lions versus the Rams. The Rams are a 5.5-point favorite. I think that number will probably go down to 5, maybe 4.5. Jared Goff last week in a big victory by the Cowboys, win 25 of 34, 309 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Matthew Stafford, 22 of 31, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions in a total beatdown of the Cardinals. For the Rams to win this game, Kyron Williams and Blake Cornum, they got to be able to run the ball effectively against this Detroit D. The defense for the Lions, they're going to be without Brian Branch for the rest of the season. He's done. He's got an injury. He's done. So now that really puts a lot of pressure on that Lions defense. And another thing too, can Nakua, Xavier Smith, and Colby Parkinson find a way to break down that Lions D in order to really give the Lions fits in this game? For the Lions, Goff better ball, and he better ball out in this game. No turnovers or nothing. And their offensive line has got to find a way to protect them. Montgomery and Gibbs, they got to break through that Rams defense, just like the 49ers did way back earlier in the season at SoFi. The Rams do kind of still have a hard time stopping the run a bit. But when you got the dual threat of Montgomery and Gibbs, that's got to be a big factor in this game. And I think to me, Goff's better find some playmakers because look, Sam Laporta's out for the season. Brock Wright is dealing with injuries. I don't know if he's going to play in this game. He's better be able to find somebody to throw it to. I don't know if St. Brown is how healthy he is right now, because he's got to be a factor in this game as well. But I think more importantly, can their defense neutralize Nakua and the rest of their wide receivers and tight ends? This is going to be a tough ball game. Even though without Brian Branch, which really that's a huge loss for the Lions D, but for some, it's going to be a tight ball game. This is a 50-50 toss-up, so I don't know who wins this game, to be quite honest. Even though 5.5 is kind of a big number. For some reason, I see the Lions pulling off the upset in this game. And for a good reason, because They're trying to get in the playoffs. They're trying to make their case to get in the postseason, and their remaining games are tough. They don't have an easy schedule the rest of the way, and they're going to be playing like a desperate football team here, just as much as the Bills are going to be playing for it in their game. I think the Lions will find a way to pull out a victory because the Rams defense, even though they're playing at a pretty high level, but if they have a hard time stopping the run and trying to they got to get to Goff. That's the key. I think the Lions will find a way to pull out a victory in this one here. It's going to be a very good game on Sunday between these two teams. And Goff, he would love nothing to do to shove it in McVay's face. Somehow, I think the Lions will barely get a victory in this one here. They'll find a way to beat the Rams in this one here. I'm going to pick the Lions at plus 5.5. Key game number 3, going into the AFC West. Chargers versus the Chiefs. Chiefs are actually a 4.5-point favorite, and I would say that's about right. Herbert, who barely survived a total beatdown, a total beatdown by the Eagles' defense, even though they won. He went 12 of 26, 139 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He wasn't having his best game. And keep in mind, he's coming off hand surgery, so I don't even know how the hell he survived that game against the Eagles. Mahomes was 14 of 33, 160 yards, no touchdowns, but 3 interceptions in a brutal takedown by the Texans defense last week. Both teams' offensive lines are having trouble protecting their quarterbacks, and that's going to be really key for both these two teams. Can their offensive line protect Herbert or Mahomes? But when I look for the Chargers, Hampton and Vital have to really come alive in the running game to try to break through that KC defense. And you got to have your playmakers like Keenan Allen and McConkey do their thing for Herbert. They got to be very effective in this game against that KC defense. And the way that Spagnuolo's defense, for some reason, they're just really falling apart. Even though their defense has did their best to keep them in the games, but it's really their offense that hasn't done squat. Look, for the Chiefs to win, everybody's got to be on the same page. Everybody's got to make plays for that team. I can name off the list of everybody on that roster, but it's plain and simple. Everybody's got to chip in, and they got to find a way to get to Justin Herbert, and their defense got to get to Herbert, plain and simple. I'm picking the Chiefs at minus 4.5. The Chargers' offensive line has bigger troubles than the Chiefs do, even though the Chiefs' record doesn't really show it. But Herbert's hand is not his non-throwing hand is not 100%, and they're gonna be going after it for sure. I'm picking the Chiefs. They will barely beat the Chargers here, especially in a frigid Arrowhead. I'm picking the Chiefs at minus 4.5. They'll beat the Chargers. It pains me to say that. I want the Chargers to beat them. Hopefully, they would finish off the Chiefs for good this season, but I just think the Chiefs will stay alive for one more game. I'm picking the Chiefs at minus 4.5. And finally, key game number 4, it is the Packers versus the Broncos. The Packers are actually a 2.5-point favorite, and it wouldn't surprise me if it goes to 2, maybe 1.5. Jordan Love, 17 of 25, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception in a big victory last week against the Bears. Bo Nix was 31 of 38, 212 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Obviously, their defense and the run really was more effective in beating down the Raiders. For the Broncos to win, their defense has got to get to Jordan Love. They got to find a way they got to get to him and find a way to neutralize Jacobs, and hopefully their secondary can make some big plays against the wide receivers that Green Bay has. For the Packers, plain and simple, Jordan Jacobs has got to be able to pound the football, run that ball effectively against that defense. But my question is, can Watson, Doubs, Musgrave break through that Broncos secondary? Because they've been pretty good all season. And keep in mind, the Broncos D has really kept them in football games all season. It is a very tough pick here, especially going to these two teams, especially for the Packers, are trying to maintain first place in the NFC North. And for the Broncos, they have a clinching scenario. They win this football game, they clinch a playoff berth, but they don't clinch the division yet. It's really going to be tough to say who wins this football game here. But Denver has been pretty good at home. They haven't lost a home game all year. And to me, I see the Broncos and Bo Nix finding a way to break through that Packer defense. I think the Broncos are going to win this game, but it's going to be very, very close. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair because both defenses are good, and I think it's going to be who makes the bigger mistake in this football game and who dominates more in time of possession here. I'm going to pick the Broncos at plus 2.5. I think they find a way to beat the Packers. It's going to be a tight ball game. It's not a sure pick in this one here. but something tells me the Broncos will find a way to get it done. I'm picking the Broncos over the Packers. All right, everybody, please check the description below for all of my Week 15 picks. I'll see you guys next week when I make my picks for week number 16 as we're finally heading down the stretch to the end of the regular season, heading close to the playoffs. I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care and enjoy your football weekend.